what we learned about history today, we learned from Star Trek, the original series, and the episode is called A Piece of the Action. Now, in this episode, an advanced human civilization arrives at Earth, and they get involved and they set up the cabals. In this episode, the cabals are called the Syndicate. And why did this advanced civilization of humans set up the cabals, the Syndicate, to help prevent violence, prevent wars from competing factions? And so it was felt that this was going to be an advancement on the current civilization they were in, because there was constant warfare in the street. Think of Al Capone in the 1920s, speakeasies and hidden liquor, because liquor was prohibited by the federal government, but the people wanted liquor in Chicago, and Al Capone provided it through his business empire. But the stories were that there was enormous battles. There was a song in the 1970s called "The Night Chicago Died." It was about Daddy was a cop on the east side of Chicago, back in the bad old days, back in the USA, in the heat of a summer night, in the land of the dollar bill. The land of Chicago died, and they talked about it still, when a man named Al Capone tried to make that town his own, etc., etc. Very good song. Can't remember who sang it. Now, so what you learn is this is American history. And so the involvement of the extraterrestrials must have been from a very early time. Why? I don't know. When were these syndicates set up? Well, if you think of like the British Empire, like there's been a king or queen of England back, I don't know, like over 1,000 years. Like this is a long-term project. If you've got primitive humans and they need to be advanced through different stages of civilization growth. We know that happens because we had a computer game in, I don't know, it was easily maybe 25 years ago, and it was one of these Sims kind of games, and anyways, it was a bit of a quest, and your job as a player was to advance your civilization. And so anyway, we just brought it back to this episode of Star Trek where advanced humans, that was Captain Kirk, arrived to find Al Capone-style people in charge of Chicago. And that's what the solution was that Captain Kirk came up with, is instead of all of you gang bosses fighting amongst each other, you'll all work together in a shared organization. So you got enormous monopolies built because of these cabals, monopolies on everything. And these days, these monopolies have they own the biggest brands on planet Earth. And you know, you can find them on like the Dow Jones listings of stocks. And then, well, anyway, the whole point of it is that these cabals are still running planet Earth, the Syndicate, and What are the extraterrestrials doing to advance our civilization past the age of the syndicate? Why do we? Well, they must be there. I don't know. But if they are not there, then where are they? And it just makes for like very slow advances in civilization if you really cannot break the speed of light. If you can't go faster than like the speed of light, then getting to the closest stars is going to take you. There's not going to be interstellar trade. So all these other whiz-bang ideas about like wormholes and warp drives. There's science fiction still to this day, and the physics of it all is shoddy because they're not thinking in terms of this is a quantum field that we live in. And living in a quantum field, you're in an infinity field. So why would you not consider that at higher levels of infinity from what you consider the physical laws? And we already know that you can connect up the physical laws of physics with E equals mc squared, which is more and more of the infinity than, good old mass and acceleration, for example. And thus we have quantum field effects that we could call synchronicity or meaningful coincidences, or things like deja vu. These are like quantum effects. So, being limited to the ideas that somehow that we are living in a physical world, it's just old programming that needs to be uprooted.